Hey guys, it's Chris and this is going to be my Westworld episode 7 review, and damn what a ride it was. This is probably the best episode of the season, definitely the biggest reveal of the season, and we got our first human casualty in the wars to come. Alright, so let's jump right into this amazing episode. This was outstanding in all ways. We had great acting, great cinematography. We're starting to get a few more answers as far as what's actually going on in Westworld, as well as the outside real world as well. So I think that's pretty cool as far as a parallel there. When we find out Elsie's on vacation, and according to his co-worker, she's on her leave already, but you know good and damn well that she wouldn't go on leave without coming to say goodbye. So he knows something's up with that. And of course, we know that Jigsaw perhaps has her kidnapped somewhere, the Arnold character, or another android working for Ford perhaps, or somebody working for the corporation, because of course there is an anti-Ford movement going on here. So you kind of got this cool parallel going on as far as, you know, what's going on in Westworld, and then of course the android revolution and the other side of the story there. And then on the outside world, kind of a meta thing, you have what's going on with the everyday employees there running the park, etc., and then kind of the behind the scenes workings of the board and what they're really up to, because as Teresa said, they're definitely up to something that's well beyond just catering to rich assholes coming to a theme park to play cowboy. We see William and Dolores again back with Lawrence in this storyline. Now this should be in the past if we all follow the two timeline theory or the single timeline broken up theory as far as how we're seeing it. And if you do support the William is the man in black theory, there was a cool line from Lawrence talking to William when he said, "Maybe you got more an appetite for this than you think." Now, one question I would raise really quick about the multiple timeline theory as far as seeing two different timelines at once in the story, it's definitely happening. But one question I would raise about it as far as what would go against something like that would be, if Dolores is with William in the past, say 30 years ago, whether William becomes the man in black or not, or whether that's Logan or somebody else. The point being that Dolores seems to be going through her change, through her metamorphosis, you know, starting to expand her horizons, learning what she actually is back in the past versus right now. Because if you think about it, for the last 30 or something years, Dolores should have been a regular old android going through her storylines with no questions, and now she's starting to evolve a little bit, find out who she is with the help of Bernard. So yeah, why would she go through this metamorphosis 30 years ago as opposed to the present when we think this is all going on? As I just mentioned, Elsie is still missing, and we actually see Teresa smile here. The first time I think we saw her smile in this entire damn show. I could be wrong, but as we know, as we got to the end of this episode, she wouldn't be smiling for long. We pick back up with Maeve, and she's quickly becoming my favorite character. She starts her daily routine as usual. Things start to change. She's starting to notice things, and she actually walks in the brothel this time and shuts down the damn piano. She's tired of hearing the same old music every fucking day. And what was really cool here is we know she's been killing herself, as I mentioned last episode, to wake up in the real world to find out what the hell's going on and to actually give herself an upgrade. The techs come in to take Clementine out and shut down the entire bar, but she is not affected, so she fakes it and stands there completely still, apparently doing the mannequin challenge.
That girl is a real crowd, please. Small world, all her friends know of me. Young bull.
And they take Clementine away because something's going on with her, which ended up being a setup because the board wanted to make an example out of somebody and fire somebody high up and unexpected in their quest to get rid of Ford and protect their intellectual property, which they believe can and would be destroyed if Ford was abruptly fired. So that whole damn thing with Clementine holding a grudge, that was all set up bullshit. We go back to William and Dolores talking about life, and William mentions that in the real world he has somebody waiting on him, and we know this is Logan's sister that he's supposed to marry, but he basically says, you know what? Why would I want to go back there where I have to pretend I'm happy here? And he actually starts falling in love with Dolores, and he gets him a little, you know, android nookie. We do see William tell Dolores that Westworld actually reveals who you are, and I guess you could say this is a little more evidence of him becoming somebody like the Man in Black. Although, again, like I said last week, I'm not completely sold on him becoming the Man in Black. Not just a looks thing. I think it's still possible. A lot of people think it could be Logan. But you could say a line like this would support something like that. And this episode, by the way, speaking of lines, had a lot of great lines in it. We had great ones from Maeve. We had great ones from Dr. Ford. I mean, you got to think about the acting in the show. I mean, these people are like regular people with their regular storylines, but then they have to break that character and pretend they're an android, pretend like they're in certain modes. Sometimes they have accents, sometimes they don't, depending on what mode they're in. I mean, this is a fucking all-star cast here. Not to mention Sir Anthony Hopkins. And we see Dolores draw something new that she seemed to remember, and this is what her and Teddy were talking about a few episodes back, where the land meets the sea, something they never witnessed, and it could very well tie in with the entrance of this maze. And as they're riding the train, they get attacked, and Lawrence has the bright idea of using an android and filling his body with nitro and blowing up some Confederates, which worked out pretty damn well. They did escape, and Dolores and William find this place where the land meets the sea, and this is the place she had actually just drawn on the train a little bit before that, and she has never actually seen the place that we know of. Maeve gets killed again somehow or commits suicide again to get back in the lab in the real world, and she has a great line for Felix here when she says,
"You don't want to fuck with me, Felix."
"Take me to find Clementine." So she apparently killed herself because they took away her friend, and she makes Felix take her around and see what they're doing to Clementine. Asshat, the co-worker of Felix, is working on Clementine to give her a lobotomy. So Maeve is well beyond the other androids, discovering who they really are, and now she's showing empathy for her friends. We see Bernard basically confront Teresa and tell her, you know what, I know something's going on here, after he gets fired, by the way, and basically says, look, I know you've been smuggling data out of the park, and basically the explanation for that was with the satellite uplink in the Stray in episode 3, it was so they could smuggle the data out of the park just in case they fired Ford and he tried to destroy everything he had created. So that's what they're up to as far as the board goes. They're tiptoeing around Dr. Ford because they know that he has the ability to destroy everything he's created, and they want to get rid of him without getting rid of their intellectual property, being the code in these androids. Then we go back to Maeve with Felix and Asshat, and they are in the lab, and basically Asshat has to apologize to Maeve for giving her a lobotomy as far as Clementine. They're going to retire her, and Maeve kind of says, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and she wants to go out into the real world. She wants to actually escape Westworld and get the hell out. But what's really cool here is she threatens Asshat some more and basically says, you know what, I'm damn good at dying. How many times have you died? And basically threatens to kill him if she doesn't get her way. And I think there's a good possibility that may happen. We go back to Teresa and Arnold, and as he's taking her to show her Ford's house in Sector 17 that's not supposed to be there as far as his childhood house and the memory that Arnold supposedly left him, well, she basically admits to Bernard that as far as the board goes and the corporation, there's a lot more going on here. What does the board and the corporation want with this type of technology? And this is when it got really fucking good as far as this episode, for me at least. And actually, before I get to this last part, back in my episode 3 review, I said this. And I'm starting to question Bernard's humanity anyway. I mean, he could be a damn android that thinks he's a human, and given this backstory like we saw Teddy get this backstory, so I'm really starting to question what Bernard actually is. So, I gotta say, I called it. I was suspicious of this the entire time. There was something up with Bernard when it came to his son Charlie, who apparently died, along with the phone call with his wife. But him having the conversation with Dolores was odd for me. It just made me think, why is he so empathetic to these droids? And now we know why. He is, in fact, an android himself created by Ford, who was programmed to believe he was actually human and is actually part of the operations team and the head of behavior. So I think that's pretty damn awesome, and it starts to make you wonder, who else is actually an android? How many real people actually work at this damn place? Because Ford has it all under his control. Anthony Hopkins had a brilliant scene here when they find the basement down there where he's actually creating undocumented hosts. And if you looked really closely when they were looking around that house, Teresa spots a door and says, what's in this door? And he says, what door? And he had just got through telling Teresa that most of the workers that check the grounds are actually hosts and are programmed not to see that house, and they literally couldn't see it if they were standing right in front of it. And Bernard never saw that door, but Teresa did, so that told us right away Bernard was in fact an android. They do go downstairs, they see Ford's been creating these hosts, and Teresa comes across the original plans for people like Dolores, so he's been working for him the entire time. So Ford likely knows that Bernard has been talking to Dolores this entire time as well, because I don't think anything goes on in this park without Ford knowing about it. And due to Teresa being the asshole she's been to Ford trying to get him out of there as far as the board goes, he basically tells her, the board likes to come at me and test me every once in a while, and I think they like the sport of it basically, and this time they sent you. There's got to be a blood sacrifice to make all this right. And he basically gives Bernard some kind of voice command, probably only he could understand, to actually kill Teresa, our first human casualty in the show in the wars with Skynet. And we're going to continue to see this get worse as they continue to put pressure on Ford, and he continues to play God in his little Westworld. I thought this was a brilliant episode. You know, it finally kind of confirmed a few things for us. I've been skeptical of Bernard the entire time, especially since in the very opening scene of episode 1, we heard his voice talking to Dolores and basically telling her straight up Do you realize you're not even real and you're in this world? And was almost like, well, he's just a, programmer who's really curious about how these things work and how they're evolving. But now we know it's probably related to him actually being an android himself. And Bernard may have questions himself, so that may be why he decided to have these secret conversations with Dolores in the first place. And this episode was brilliant. It was written well. Mad props to all the actors in the show. It's pretty damn amazing. A damn good storyline and damn good drama as far as what the hell is going on and the bigger picture. Again, you have this parallel what's going on within Westworld, and the parallel to that would be in the outside world. You have the people and employees that run the park, and then of course you have the board and the corporation on the outside trying to influence what's going on the inside for whatever their ultimate goal is. We certainly still have a lot to learn what the end game is here, and it's going to be a long time before we find out. I believe this is inked for 5 seasons already, but I think this will be the next big thing now. I was starting to have a few doubts here and there between episodes, say 2, 3, 4, but after seeing the last couple, it's really started to take off and really started to get really good as far as the storytelling and some of the revelations we've had. And now it really makes you question who the hell is actually an android and who's actually human. I'm actually starting to think that Stubbs is actually an android as well. He did give us a little clue of that back in episode 3, The Stray, when he was talking with Elsie. When she said, "Who are you, Galafucking-Leo?" He said, "I don't know, maybe it's in my backstory." So I'm starting to think that that could explain the 2 timeline thing, because a lot of people have questioned, him giving the authorization to the Man in Black, which will be the current timeline. And then he's been around in the past as well, so that would explain that. If he is an android, of course, he would never age. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. What did you think of the episode? I was really, really pumped about it. It made me feel better about the show in general. What do you think about Dr. Ford and his control here? What do you think about the big reveal with Bernard? Were you surprised? Did you see it coming? And do you think the place by the sea where William and Dolores came upon, do you think that has something to do with this damn maze that we're still all wondering about? So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. As usual, thank you for all the support. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and have a deep and dreamless slumber.